Hi, everybody, and good evening. Welcome to our week number 4 live stream for our 8-week summer class. See a bunch of you getting logged in and joining me, which is fantastic. Can everyone hear me and see me okay? Everything coming through all right on your end? Just to double check. I got a yep. I'll take it. I'll take it. Perfect. Thank you. I hope everybody is doing well, that you all had a safe, uneventful 4th of July if you celebrated. Yeah, I did. Actually, I was reading a little bit about it, and because you had sent me that message, I took a screenshot of it last week. And I don't know, it's kind of an interesting idea. Like, you had said that it got FDA approval. Read a whole bunch of mixed stuff. So we could talk about it at the end if you want. Let me go ahead and go through everything, and then at the very end we can chat about that a little bit if you would like. Okay. Okay, good. Yeah, sometimes at the very beginning there is an ad and then it should go away. So glad it's gone, right? Ads are the worst. I hate having to sit through ads. So anyway, I was saying I hope you all had a safe and uneventful 4th of July. I can't believe it's already July 5th, which is just wild to think that there's only like another month and a week left before we start the fall semester. But I won't think about that yet. We'll just enjoy the rest of the summer time that we have. You said it's lagging. Let me put this in the chat here. Sometimes when it's lagging, you could try logging out and coming back in. Just in case you couldn't hear me say that, I put it in the chat. That's probably the best thing that you can do with an internet connection, as low tech as that is, right? So anyway, what I want to do today, we're in week number 4. So we are almost halfway through our class. So once this week ends, we will be halfway done. So let's take a look at the things we have going on. Right now, we're in the chunk of week 3 and 4. So we have all the materials from last week that we went over last week on the stream, which was chapter 5 and 6, discussions 5 and 6, and then the little short self-assessment related to kind of your progress and everything so far in the class. And then we did have the extra credit last week as well. This week, for week number 4, we're looking at chapter 7 and chapter 8. So the topic of memory and then the topic of cognition. So both of those topics being kind of the core things that we're looking at for the week. So as always, you'll want to do 3 things, right, for every chapter. You're going to want to look at the ebook, right? Read the ebook chapter for chapter 7. And then read the lecture here and go through the lecture video. And then you'll want to do the same thing for chapter 8, the ebook chapter, the lecture, and the video. Of course, as usual, click on all the links, watch any videos that I put in there. Anything that's in there is meant to help you understand the materials. So you have your 2 chapters to read as usual. And then on top of that, as usual, you do have your 2 discussions. So we have discussion number 7 and discussion number 8. And as always, you have your instructions up here at the top, right, where you're looking at watching the video, making sure you elaborate and all your responses, all the kind of usual stuff. Chapter 7, right, and discussion 7 is related to memory, right? So for memory, you're going to watch my little video here. And if you were taking this with me in person, you would have to memorize this 28-digit sequence. Lucky for you, you just have to write about it. But I gave you a 28-digit sequence of letters and numbers. And if you were to hold on to that, if you needed to hold on to it for a matter of maybe seconds, and if you needed to hold on to it for a matter of days, what strategies would you use? So I'm looking to see that you can take some of the strategies and things talked about in the memory chapter and apply it to remembering that sequence. And again, I kind of walked you through what I did in the video. I made a story, right? And so I'm looking to see that you can apply different methods. So if you were holding on to this for a matter of seconds, it's going to be a different technique than if you're holding on to it for a matter of days. So you're really going to kind of highlight what you would do, kind of describing that. If you make a story, give me the story, right? If you chunk it, show me how you did that, right? So make sure you really elaborate in what you do. You're going to describe in detail 2 specific strategies discussed either in the lecture or the book that you could use to help remember content when you're studying for an exam. So kind of looking at a practical application of memory here, like if you were to talk about what are some things you could do to help you study. And then do you have any personal tips for memory that you would like to share? Right? What strategies do you use in your personal life to help you remember information? I am really, really bad at remembering where I park park. And so I oftentimes come up with like a story to remember the number or the letters or whatever it is where I park. Obviously, I could take a picture, but that's something that I often will do in my personal life is kind of come up with little stories or mnemonics or things like that. So you're going to answer all of those questions by hitting reply. And then as usual, make sure you reply to a classmate. And then you do have one more discussion. So that's discussion 7. And then discussion number 8, sorry, it booted me here. Discussion number 8 is related to chapter 8 on cognition. So as usual, watch my little video, be detailed in your responses. Don't forget to reply to a peer. So this one is related to the topic of intelligence. So in your own words, how would you define intelligence? Right? You can write out a definition or describe the attributes or behaviors that you tend to think are characteristic of people who are intelligent. What are some things that you can do to increase your intelligence? This is definitely something that I talked about in the textbook and also in the lecture. And then this is the biggest one here at the end. This last bullet is the one that I'm really looking for you to elaborate on. The book and lecture discuss 3 different characteristics that a test should have in order to be good, or in other words, worth using. What are those 3 characteristics or properties? Make sure you define them, describe them. You could always give me an example if that's helpful to you. But this last bullet is definitely where the majority of your points are coming from. So make sure you're really elaborating and kind of going into some detail on that. So you can hit reply when you're ready. And then of course, don't forget to reply to a classmate to get those 2 points. Kind of an easy 2 points to get, but you obviously want to make sure that you are getting them. And those are the kind of things that we have like usual, right? 2 discussions, 2 chapters. You have your second exam this week, and quite a few of you have actually already taken it since you have access to 2 weeks at a time. But you do have exam number 2. And so a couple of things just like last time, right? You have 75 minutes and you have 1 attempt at the exam. This one doesn't have any diagrams on it like the last one did, but you definitely want to be utilizing the study guide. Make sure that you are familiar with any terms that are on there. The study guide is right here underneath, right? If we click on that together. And every exam is just on its unit. So this one is on chapters 5, 6, 7, and 8. So consciousness, learning, memory, and cognition. So make sure that you are familiar with all of the terms that are on here. You can use your notes in your book on the test. But as I mentioned last time, if you're trying to look everything up, you're going to be really, really short on time. It's going to be tight. So what you want to do is make sure you're studying like you would for a normal test. If it were me, as I mentioned before, I would probably type or write all these terms out and have it in front of me just so that I knew that I had everything should I have a term that I don't remember or I need something to look up. But if you study with the study guide, you should be in great shape. If it's on here, it will be on the test. If it's not on here, you don't need to worry about it. So make sure that you're definitely reviewing all of these terms from 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then just some kind of general tips. The exam is the same style and format as last time, right? So roughly the same amount of questions, matching, true, false, multiple choice, all the same kind of stuff. So if you did really well on the last exam, just do the same thing here and hopefully you will be in a really good spot. Don't forget to give yourself every opportunity to be successful, right? So make sure that you have a good internet connection, that you have 75 minutes where you can take it and you have plenty of time in a quiet place, that you've studied, you're prepared, you're organized, you're ready to go. If you can make sure you have all of those things in place, then you will be in a very good spot. And again, a lot of you did beautifully on the first exam, so I would expect that hopefully that will be the case this time around as well. So make sure that you do study and prepare. I'll give you the optional Twitch extra credit question in a few minutes, and I will post the recording of this, of course, when we're done. But don't forget, if you haven't done week number 3, there was a few things from last week, like the discussions and so on. And then obviously get going on the stuff from this week with discussion 7, 8, and the exam. A couple of reminders for you. This feels kind of short and sweet. As we get into the rhythm of this, I think it gets a little easier. And then next week when we do our next meeting, right, I will have some feedback for you and so on. But a couple of reminders. Speaking of next week, there is an excellent chance that I will not be able to do the live stream next week. And if that becomes the case, what I will do is record a video and I will post it right here where it says recording of week 5 live stream. So if I'm not able to do it, we are going to be out of the area traveling. So if I'm not able to do that, I will make a video ahead of time and post it. Otherwise, we'll plan on Wednesday next week as usual. But likely there's a really good chance that I will be posting a video. So if you watch that, you'll still get that extra credit question and all the reminders and a little bit of feedback. It just won't be, sadly, it won't be live, but we'll still have 3 weeks after that to do that. It will be in the video, right? So the extra credit question will be in the video, and it'll probably be like a 10 to 15 minute recording, but that will allow you to have all the announcements and reminders if I'm not able to meet with you live. I'm going to do my best, but I don't know what the internet situation in the house we'll be staying at will be like. So we'll see. We'll see. So I have a couple of other reminders for you. I already had written this out, so I'm going to put it here. Don't forget to take a moment just to double check that you are subscribed as usual, or put your name in the chat. Since we're in week 4, if you did the free Twitch subscription, it is only good for 30 days, right? So there's an excellent chance that you might need to renew that. If you notice that you no longer have the little football cake next to your name, which I'm not seeing anyone in the chat as of now, but if that goes away, then it means that that subscription has expired and you might need to renew it. And I can show you next week how to do that, or I can show you in the recording. But it's as simple as going to Twitch and then kind of resubscribing again for free. And thank you to those of you who have done that. It really does save me a bunch of time because I can download your names. So thank you. I do really appreciate that. Are there any questions at all for me before I give you that Twitch extra credit question at all? I'm going to wait for just a minute here and see if you have any questions at all for me. All right, so while I'm waiting, let me go and grab the Twitch extra credit question. And if you think of anything, of course, feel free to put that in the chat. But this is our week number 4 Twitch extra credit question. Kind of again, feels kind of short and sweet this week, but we'll have a little bit more next week as I give you some feedback and so on. So the extra credit question for this week, for week number 4, is related to memory. And I'm putting this in the chat right now. What does it mean that our short-term memory can hold 7 plus or minus 2 pieces of information? So what does it mean that our short-term memory can hold 7 plus or minus 2 pieces of information? Oh, that's interesting. My somebody wrote, and then I'll get back to the question. Suits. That's interesting. My mother-in-law and father-in-law said that they're watching that show. I haven't seen it, but I've definitely heard of it. We've been watching, what have we been watching? Oh, Manifest, right? We meant to start it forever ago. We've been binge watching Manifest at the moment with one more season to go. But my parents are watching that. Interesting. I don't know a whole lot about it. I don't know if anyone else is watching it. Feel free to chime in. Cool. All right. Well, nice. Eidetic photographic memory. Super rare. But there are people who have really phenomenal memories to the point where it's almost like they have an image that they've taken of whatever it is they've seen. I'll have to check it out. Thank you, Mini Wheat. Thank you for the suggestion. And like I said, my parents are watching it, so I'm sure they'd be more than happy to tell me all about it. You've watched Manifest so many times. Nice. Okay. Yeah, it's a good show. The one that I'm really obsessed with is From. I don't know if any of you have watched From. It just finished its 2nd season, but it's dark and creepy, and I really, really like that one. I was a huge fan of Lost, and it's the same people who wrote Lost, and it kind of has like an eerie, like creepy vibe. Oh, look, see, someone else had watched it. Okay, perfect. Manifest is on Netflix. And From was on Amazon or MGM Plus. And yeah, I'm obsessed. Really great cliffhanger ending for season 2. I wish season 3 was coming soon. I'm sure it'll be like a year and a half, unfortunately, right? So many good shows. I love that there's so many good shows to watch. I have like a whole list of things to keep catching up on, right? So much time to binge watch them over the summer. Anyway, sorry, we got distracted. Let me go back to the extra credit question just for a moment here. Yeah, Lost was my favorite, probably one of my favorite shows of all time, and from the same people who did it. It kind of has a similar feel. I can see where it could maybe go in that same direction. So let me go back just in case. I want to be mindful of your time, and then we can keep talking if anyone wants to. But the extra credit question, right? What does it mean that our short-term memory can hold 7 plus or minus 2 pieces of information? If you wanted to answer that, you go back to Canvas. And since we're in week 4, you'll click on optional Twitch extra credit number 4 right here. And then up at the top, you'll click on start assignment. And that will bring up this little text box where you can type your response, right? And then hit submit, right? And that will give you the little confetti burst and butterflies. Very exciting. It is worth 2 points. You have all the way until Sunday night at 11:59 p.m. to do that. So make sure that you do that if you're interested. I will, as I said, post a recording of this either later tonight or tomorrow, worst case. And that way, if you missed it or if you're watching this later, you obviously found it. But any other questions, thoughts, comments? I see somebody sent me a message on here, but any other questions for now? And if you don't have any questions and you're feeling good, you are welcome to go. Get started on week 4, do week 3 if you haven't already done it. I will, of course, hang out for a little while if you do have any questions for me, and we can chat another a couple of other like kind of side questions. So if you have any questions or want to hang out, I will for a little while, and I'm here. Otherwise, have a wonderful week. Enjoy the warm weather. It's definitely like full-blown summer at this point. Yeah. I'm going to hang out. We're going to talk about the Neuralink thing. I just want to make sure that if there were anything related to the class. Okay, so I'll hang out, like I said, for a little bit, and we can talk, chat about the Neuralink thing, or if you want to talk about the shows, I definitely have a few minutes. I read a little bit about the Neuralink, right? The neurotech like startup from Musk, right? And interesting. I mean, I don't know specifics of it, obviously, at all, but I know that it's something that like could help with things like ALS. A really interesting idea that it's trying to use like technology to help with neural signals, right? It's really like promising. I didn't know a whole lot about it. Thank you as well. Have a wonderful week. And thank you for those of you joining us. You're welcome to stay, obviously, but if you have to go, have a wonderful week. So really interesting. Yeah, I don't know where it's going to go. It's just about to start like human clinical trials, right? So it got that FDA approval to do the human clinical studies and trials. So we'll see what happens with it, but it's really definitely an interesting idea. I don't know if you had I don't know if I can answer specific questions about it, but I definitely did look it up and kind of read about it a little bit. No, I don't. Right. And you know what's interesting is it didn't seem like there's an incredible amount of information. So from what I understood about reading about it, and I had some notes that I wrote down about it, is that it puts in a brain implant, right? So there's a brain implant that goes in, and the thought is that it will use like external technology to induce like neural signals, right? So I mean, there wasn't a whole lot more. It was like this brain computer interface that they were talking about developing that will like translate brain signals into something that an external technology could understand. I don't know. It sounds really like a little bit like sci-fi kind of science fiction level stuff. But it's something that we've been like working toward apparently for quite a long time. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, it requires a very invasive brain surgery in order to implant the device. So in that sense, it is a little bit frightening, right, and dangerous, right, but also really interesting, like you said, at the same time. I don't know where it's going to go from here. When did they say that? I'm trying to remember when they said. There's a lot of issues with it that I wrote down, right? There's obviously a lot of like ethical concerns and a lot of like logistical concerns, but it seems like it's something that might be helpful for people with like neurodegenerative diseases. So we'll see. Yeah, I think, more than that, like, so that's kind of like an interesting like offshoot. So what I've read about it, and like again, I only, I read maybe two or three articles about it. So from what I understand, it's more meant to help people whose brains aren't functioning properly because of things like, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis or ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, right? So it's more in cases where people's like motor neurons have stopped firing. So we use these external signals in order to like transduce the signal and then generate movements, right? So, I mean, there's obviously all sorts of like off label applications and ethical concerns with it. But from my understanding, that is kind of like the idea is that it would be you'd be able to control like more motor movement related things through almost like it's almost like a Bluetooth kind of connection, right? Something external technology device transducing the signals in order to allow them to be controlled within the brain. So I don't know, so yeah, I mean, I can see how they would have gadget related like ideas with it, but yes, it's more thought to be like an implant that would be used as a treatment for people who have degenerative disease. So, and it's from what I understand, like, and we have one surgery. So we have something called deep brain stimulation that we do in cases of like very severe depression, schizophrenia, and it's used very, very sparingly because it involves a very invasive surgery. And it's kind of the same thing here, where you would have to have, something like literally implanted into your brain through a very like dangerous invasive surgery. So I don't think that we're anywhere near the like kind of fun, gadgety ideas with it. But I mean, who knows, right? This could be something that opens a gateway to other things. So it's interesting. It's definitely, I'm glad that you asked about it. I didn't know anything about it. So really interesting to read a little bit more about where this is, and we'll see what happens with the trials, I suppose. All right, we'll find out. Thank you for typing that, and I saw that you figured out the prime too. So thank you so much for that. No surgery is fun, right? Surgery is awful, right? Even minor surgery. So, and brain surgeries are really, quite precarious and can be very dangerous. While there aren't pain receptors in the brain, you obviously, when you're poking around and implanting things in the brain, there's all sorts of possibilities for things to go wrong. So I hope you are recovering from your surgery, whatever you had on Friday. I wish you all the best recovering. And yeah, we'll see. Like I said, we'll see what happens. What if a virus entered? Yeah, I mean, right? Then you start getting into like some really like odd sci-fi stuff. I don't know. When you said that, it reminded me of like a really old like '90s movie called The Lawnmower Man, right? Where like kind of like this interface between people and computers and viruses. And radial nerve surgery. Well, I hope everything heals quickly, right? That sounds miserable, right? I've broken each wrist twice, so I know the pain of like arm and wrist pain. So I hope that heals quickly for you. Yeah, it definitely seems very cyborg like. We'll see. So thank you for asking about it and suggesting it. Definitely something that will be fascinating to see what happens in trials and see what happens in the future. You never know where we're gonna end up, right? A lot of artificial intelligence stuff, and it seems like this is definitely kind of teetering that line as well. Um, cool. Thank you for the fun questions and interaction. I love it. I appreciate it. I'll hang out for a few more minutes if anybody has any other questions about stuff related to the class or things that are like connected like this. I love it. I'm gonna minimize my video though, just so I'm not staring at my self anymore. But I will hang out for a few more minutes if you do have any other questions or anything like that. Otherwise, I hope you all have a really wonderful week and a wonderful night. And I will hope to see you all next week for a live stream. And if not, again, there will be a recording that I will post. Yeah, you as well. Yeah, we'll see what happens, right? But thank you so much again for asking about it. It gave me something really interesting to find out and read about. So thank you. I love it. And I am still here. If any of you have any questions, I'll hang out for another minute or two, and then I'll wrap it up so I can start that upload download process. But thank you so much again for those of you who joined me, and I'll hang out for another minute or two before I sign off.